This is Rudkowski of WeAreChange.org. I'm joined by five-time presidential candidate and also social campaigner, Ralph Nader. Now, Ralph, what are you currently up to?
Everything.
What is the most important issue or current thing happening right now that you care about the most?
Lack of civic motivation. Just 1% of the people with the public behind them can take on the 1% of Wall Street and change the country. We've shown it can be done in the past in a whole number of areas, right? Getting rid of asbestos, lead, tobacco is on the defensive, auto safety. We've got to realize it's easier than we think. If people realize that, they'll be more motivated to act and to have a higher significance of themselves in their own country.
Now, you've been involved in a political presidential race for many years. I was wondering, what do you think about the upcoming one with people like Hillary Clinton and Rand Paul being some of the people who are being pushed out as some of the two front runners?
Well, Hillary is a corporatist and a militarist. Do we want another corporatist and militarist? She thinks Obama is too weak. He doesn't kill enough people overseas. So she's a menace to the United States of America. And what we need is our people, regardless whether they're libertarians or not, that pull back on the empire and make Wall Street subordinate to Main Street. People have got to start thinking, doing their homework, to become informed voters and not coronate another corporatist and militarist.
So I was wondering, what do you think about presidential candidate Rand Paul? He's most likely going to be running in 2016. He's not for war. He's not hawkish. It seems like the political platforms are kind of changing right now. What do you think about Rand Paul?
Well, if he's like his father, Ron Paul, is against militarism, against the bloated military budget, against empire, and against these foreign military unconstitutional adventures. But Rand Paul is changing by the month. As he wants the White House, he's beginning to say, well, why don't we give more aid to Israel, the militarism there? Why don't we keep this part of the military budget that has jobs in Kentucky? So he's beginning to change. You can see him in just 1 year. He's not going to go on the floor and filibuster again the way he did courageously. That's what blind ambition does. That's what political power appeal does. So what he ought to do is go back to his father, sit on his knee, and become more like Ron Paul.
Thank you so much for that. And then one last thing about sort of your perspective, because it seems like you're coming from a perspective where people should be taxed more and there should be more regulations. People like Ron Paul and other libertarians come from the opposite aspect of it. What do you think of that aspect of saying we can't feed the state? What do you say to that argument saying we shouldn't give the government more money with our tax dollars? We shouldn't give the government more power since they're incompetent and they do a lot of illegal, wrong things?
First of all, there's no such thing as the government. It's the corporate government. It's Wall Street over Washington. Let's get that straight. We've lost our government to corporate supremacists who have only profits and commercial gain in mind. So government is supposed to be a reflection of our own values, right? Okay, so waste in government is profit for corporations, like waste in military contracts, waste in energy. It's all more sales, more profits. So we got to cut that bond between Wall Street and Washington. The second is that government can do a lot of good things because it can be a countervailing force to corporate ripoffs as you as a consumer, as a debtor, as a homeowner, as a tenant, as a food consumer, as a breather of air and water. You can't do it by yourself. Can you avoid air pollution by refusing to inhale? Hardly. The other thing that's important is we have a left-right alliance now against crony capitalism, what we call corporate welfare. And that's a huge portion of the federal budget in the form of handouts, giveaways, subsidies, bailouts, inflated contracts with the government. We know all that. So we got to get a left-right alliance to dismantle the corporate state. And I can see it now forming, and I have a book on it that gives a lot of examples. It's called Unstoppable, the Emerging Left-Right Alliance to Dismantle the Corporate State. But we need it to become more powerful in elections, more powerful on incumbents, and we need to get over this divide and rule strategy of the supremacists, the power bloc, that keeps us from banding together on the things we really do agree on.
And
Get the remainder of those.
you were willing to talk to me before I brought up Bilderberg. It's a very serious concern. We just asked for a conversation and a dialogue. I'm sure you could explain yourself and to our audience.